My name's Steve Mills. I run our family business, Mills Boatyard, Mills Dockyard, which has been in our families now since 1890s. We service inland craft, narrow boats and that sort of thing. We restore vintage boats and just gone into vintage cars. My life has always been building and restoring wooden boats, vintage wooden boats.
Yeah.
I'd always been aware of skiff-bodied cars which were built by various coach builders, but one was H. Labadet in Paris, pre-First World War, and I looked into various styles and various things that he'd done. I studied construction methods, which were exactly the same as boat building methods. Mm-hmm. Decided to have a go about 5 years ago and imported a 1926 Packard, a derelict Packard saloon car that I stripped right down to the bare chassis and designed and built my own body with exactly the same construction principles as he used, which were identical to boat building techniques.
Right. Goodness. What, I mean, in some ways, what possessed you? What was it that you got time on your hands? Was it that you're somebody who likes, I get the feeling you're somebody who likes a project.
Yeah, I'm a very creative person. I have imaginative mind, and the two go together quite well. And I was trained as an engineer at Rolls-Royce, taught how to do pattern making and all sorts of engineering skills that have always stood by me, and it's just something I wanted to do, really, to see if I was capable of doing it.
And to see it at London, I mean, I walked past it and thought, oh my goodness, there's a 1920s wooden bodied car there, that's incredible. Yeah. And then just happened to see you putting something in the back, so got chatting. But the story that you've actually built it from scratch, on a rolling chassis, to your design, utilising all that experience and craftsmanship you've got, I mean, that's incredible, really.
Well, yeah, thanks, but it's what I do. It's perhaps considered unusual this day and age, but it's what I've always done, and I don't do anything with computers or CAD systems at all. It's all built by eye. The Packard, for instance, I built a mock-up body to scale it to get the size, and from that I built a set of building frames that we build a shell onto, and then the building frames come out, and it's planked and ribbed just like a boat. Like a boat? Yeah, exactly like a boat.
But you'd also restored the engine, hadn't you?
That's right, yeah. The engine was done in America, new pistons and valves, that sort of thing done, and it was really basically a cleaning and polishing sort of exercise, and getting it up and running properly.
And the reception at London, I mean, you say it was just really, really positive.
I was blown away with it. And the feedback from the public was incredible. I was really pleased, and to meet Prince Michael of Kent and have an interview with him was quite nerve-wracking and enjoyable at the same time. But yeah, it was thoroughly good.
What's been the best bit for you about doing the car, as opposed to doing the boats, which?
I guess, I suppose, a sense of achievement that it's been perceived well by the public. That's the ultimate accolade, really. And there's a lot of professional people who've looked at it as well. And for a first go, I'm quite pleased. I would like to sell it and move it on, and perhaps do another one, a little bit more ambitious. But time will tell.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
And so these are the brass boat pins.
They're copper. Copper boat nails, square shanked. Can you see the square shank?
Yeah.
And then they're driven through the planking, the two layers of planking, and through the oak rib. And then there's a little tiny washer, or what they call a rove, or a roove, depending how you pronounce it, which is driven on, if I can get them separated, which is driven down the shank with a special little tool. That's nipped off with a pair of nippers, and then it's peened over, riveted over, so you make a little tiny rivet like that.
My goodness.
And then that's what all of these are,
These.
Yeah.
Because what's really nice is, because it's copper, it catches the light as you kind of look down the car. It's incredible.
Well, it was interesting. I exhibited it after I built it. I was invited to do it at the NEC Classic Car Show.
Oh yeah.
And there was two old boys looking at it, and they said, "I think these are all painted on."
You've got I mean, like a boat, you've got curvature in both
yes,
planes, haven't you? You've
yeah.
got the
that's right,
the what I call the Y plane and the X plane.
That's right.
And it's just staggering to see that you can get wood, you know, from a layman's point of view, you can get wood steamed to that degree where you can.
Well, this was all done cold because it's only 2 millimeters thick. The planking could bend around cold, and the only ribs I could steam were these here, and we just put the little tiny ribs there. They just fit down the spout in the kettle. So you put the kettle on for 5 minutes, and that'll just give you enough steam to bend that round and fasten it.
So what's the actual wood that you've used?
This is mahogany.
Mahogany.
This is West African mahogany.
Yeah.
The framework is all oak, so all the ribs are oak. There's only 2 frames in it. This main one here and one at the back here. That's all oak. The floorboards are teak.
Right.
And the arrow, the detailing, is sycamore.
Okay.
That's sycamore.
And how's lockdown been? Because obviously this was born out of a slowdown in the boating market, wasn't it? I remember you saying.
Well, my boatyard is an inland boatyard as well, and we service inland narrowboats. We operate dry docks, and fortunately in lockdown that could still happen on tickover, and we've managed to get through okay. I did get a slack period, and I've started a hot rod project now, a 1928 Dodge Tourer, which was my COVID project, sort of, a little bit. That's coming to fruition now, and maybe next year we'll get it done, we'll see.
And have you always been somebody who likes a project, who wants to be busy, who wants to build something, create something?
I've just got a mechanical mind. I can't do anything with technology much. Right from an early age. I mean, I was given a 1934 aerial Red Hunter at 10 years old that we took to bits, me and my mate, and thrashed around the fields, and from that grew an interest in what are now vintage motorcycles. From that I went into cars. I did a 1936 Morris 8, and then drifted into boats as I came into the boatyard in 1980, 81, and the vintage boat sort of career took off a little bit, really. Yeah.
But the car came out of the slowdown in that.
It did a bit,
period,
really, yes. And I need to try to do one. I like to set myself a challenge to do things, and it's done. It's a 4.7 litre, I believe, straight 6. Lovely quality engine. Packards were noted for quality of construction, and it's got centralised chassis lubrication, so under the dashboard there's a pump which pumps that little tank, and it's fed through this copper pipe to all the spring shackles, so it's centralised chassis lubrication. Quality thing, aluminium crankcase, and you compare this with the 1928 Dodge, for instance, and the Dodge is quite good, but you look at the chassis size on that, it's 4 inches deep. The chassis size on this is nearly 8 inches deep. When you pick that up, it flexes, but this is it's like the Forth Road Bridge. It's solid, you know, and that's what Packards were noted for, really. Quality of construction.
And was it always, when you did this, had you always envisaged it as a Packard?
No.
Or was that the chassis that you found that best fitted?
No, this is the smallest chassis that Packard did.
The smallest?
The smallest. So they did a wheelbase 2 feet longer than this.
Goodness.
And they did an 8-cylinder as well. But this was I bought this from the States. I couldn't afford a Bentley or an Alvis or anything of that nature. And this was relatively cheap to buy in the States. I know it was in an appalling condition. But its quality and its size lended itself perfectly to the project that I wanted to do, really. We had to modify the radiator has been lowered 2.5 inches. The firewall, I made all the firewall, that's been lowered 2.5 inches.
Right.
And the steering's been raked back just to give it a bit more sporting appeal instead of a bit more upright feel. But other than that, everything's stock and standard. The body even sits on the original Packard engine mounts, the 6 mounting holes. Goodness. It sits on that.
Yeah.
And the only modification I had to do to the chassis was on the back cross member, just drop that down 2 inches so the body could sit in it.
Right.
Because to keep true to the method and the period, they wouldn't have modified the chassis too much. I think the chassis would have been a pretty much stock item that they would have built a body onto. So I was keen not to alter the chassis too much really and keep it as original as possible.
Because it is going back to those days of coach building, isn't it, where
exactly, yeah,
a manufacturer produced a rolling chassis with all the engine components there, and then somebody like, I don't know, Van den Pla, like Mulliner, like whoever, would then build the body as required by the customer.
Yeah. I mean, these little features, these are all Packard. These are the Packard door latches that I modified to make little candles to suit for the thingy bob, and the door handles are the same. The instrument panel's all original, although it's been chopped down and sized to suit. So there's quite a lot of original Packard still here, really.
But it's lovely because it doesn't feel, seeing it, as I say, in London, I took it for a 1920s wooden body car that had been restored, not something that had been built from scratch over the last 5-6 years or so.
Well, I mean, I've been doing this now for 30 plus years, and it's like the boats I do, it's about giving something a feel.
Yeah.
If you get the feel of something right, then I think the project's right, really.
Yeah.
And that just comes through experience, I guess.
So what's next?
I don't know. Maybe another car, something along these lines. We've got a restoration project going on over winter, a 1910 Wolseley motorboat that's booked in over winter. I'm approaching semi-retirement, so we don't know where that's going.
Is there such a thing for you, retirement?
Semi-retirement.
Semi-retirement, yeah.
Yeah. I don't make real long-term plans. I just get up in the morning, decide to do something and do it. That's about it now, really. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's incredible walking around here. There's such a kind of atmosphere to seeing boats being rebuilt, to seeing the car, even to seeing kind of tools kind of stacked up on the shelves. How long have you actually been in this location?
Well, the family's been here since late 1800s, 1890. Grandfather was my great-grandfather was a barge builder and built houseboats. There's a small houseboat community down here. I drifted into the business about 1980, 81, and then it was a semi-derelict boat building business. There wasn't any really boat repairs being done here, and gradually over a period of years just built it back up, and it's quite a busy yard now with the inland waterways supplying narrowboats. We have a dry dock we turn around every week, and restoring vintage boats has always gone alongside that, really. Yeah.
And now the car as well.
And now perhaps cars, yeah.
Fantastic. Steve, thank you so much for giving us your time.
You're most
today.
welcome. I'm pleased to have you up here.
It's been absolutely brilliant, and to hear the story of building it, to see the boats is just incredible. So
you're most welcome.
Thank
you.
Thank you.